Okay, so I'm sorry. Like I was saying, this is just a continuance of the last video that I did, that I uploaded about what happened to Carlia, what happened to the triplet that was that's no longer here. So, anywho, getting to the point, she was born prematurely, 27 weeks, 4 days. They all left the hospital fine, except, well, not all of them. 2 of them left the hospital. The 2 monochord twins left the hospital in September, and they were fine. They do have cleft palates. She did have a cleft palate, but the other one still has a cleft palate, and they need to be corrected. But they are, or should I say, she is growing fine, which is her identical twin, Kayla. She's growing fine. Carlia didn't have any issues either with eating and stuff, other than the fact that sometime when she did eat, the food would come out of her nose, which is the same thing for Kayla, same issues. So they didn't really have any major issues as far as breathing and stuff like that. So in the end of January, Carlia got sick.
Sit down. Why are you looking at me like that?
Did you get it? Yeah. Okay, so the end of January. Sit her down. Sit her around and sit her down, shot. Before I pull off. So the end of January, Carlia got sick with what you call it? What she had? I forgot what it was. Yeah, it was a virus that she had caught. But it was a lung virus. Not a lung virus. It was a bronchial virus, so to speak.
I'm not gonna let her eat.
No, don't get her no chip. I gave her French fries. She didn't want it. She don't want that. And since she didn't want the French fries, she's not gonna want the chip. So anyway, she got sick at the end of January with the virus. I took her to the emergency room. Go ahead. I took her to the emergency room, and they had her on the breathing machine. She was breathing really, really hard. Not panting, but her inhales were very deep. And, she was breathing fast, but not really, really fast. But anywho, I took her to the emergency room. They admitted her. She stayed for a week, I think it was, because she left the 31st of January. She left the 31st of January, but they said that she was aspirating a little bit, so they said. I even went when she had the x-ray done, well, the burn and swallow test done, and it didn't look like to me she was aspirating, but, I don't know. I knew what to look for, but I didn't know what to look for, so to speak, so I really couldn't tell if she was aspirating, but the doctors did say she was aspirating. And I did see like a little snippet of where some of the food did go into her lungs. Well, not food, but milk. Food, same thing. Anyway, I did see where some of it did go into her lungs, but it was just a very little bit. It wasn't a lot, it was just a little bit. And it wasn't concentrated with cereal or anything. So according to the lung doctors, the milk was able to be broken down in the lungs because it didn't have food in it, so they said. Anywho, so she was sent home on a feeding tube, which was inserted into her nose, and of course it went down to her stomach, and that's how I would feed her. So she went home. That weekend she did okay for like she did okay Friday, Saturday, but Sunday she started doing the same thing again. So I'm like, okay, well, let me see if slowing down her feeds would help, and let me call and see if I give her a breathing treatment, because I have asthma. So I don't know if maybe the breathing treatment might want to help clear out her lungs, if it was anything in her lungs, because according to them, it was nothing in her lungs. It was just that she caught an infection in her lungs. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, like, if you have an infection in your lungs, obviously there's mucus or something in your lungs. There's no way to catch an infection anywhere without there being mucus. Mucus is the cause of all of the diseases that happen and are created in your body. So when they said that she didn't have mucus or nothing in her lungs, I'm thinking, okay, well, this shit don't sound right. So I called the doctor's office and asked them, or should I say, I called her doctor and asked to speak to the doctor or the nurse or somebody who can get in contact with either or, because she hasn't because they had an appointment to see a lung specialist. I can't think of the actual pulmonary. They had an appointment to see a pulmonary, but the appointment was for, I forgot when it was for, but I think she was in the hospital, so they were supposed to go over to see her in the hospital, but they never did. So when I called the doctor's office, I asked to speak to the doctor or either the nurse, and I asked them, was it okay for me, or should I say, not okay for me to give her that, because I was going to give it to her anyway, but I wanted to see how much should she take, because I don't have, I didn't know the measurements of how much she should take of the albuterol treatment. But I did go to school for pharmacy tech, so I should have just went ahead and did the Clark's rule measurements to see how much exactly she could take, or even just went ahead and gave it to her, and when I felt like she looked like she was getting better or jitterish looking, just take it away. But I didn't do that. I was listening to the doctors. I went against my own gut feeling a lot of times this time, and I should have done that, and I always smack myself for that, because I went against my own gut feeling, like basically your own intuition, pretty much. If you feel like something ain't right, don't do it. Or if you feel like something doesn't make sense, don't just go with it because they're doctors, because that's not always the case, because they're not always right. They all learn from the same motherfucking book. So everybody's different, so you can't say that this will work for this person and that will work for this person when they're two different people. Everybody's body is built the same, but everybody is not the same. So in other words, I felt like I should have went with my gut feeling on all these occasions, but I did not, because I was kind of scared and I didn't know what was going on with her. So anyway, she was admitted to the hospital again that Monday. From that Monday, she stayed all the way. She stayed for like 2 weeks, I think it was. She went back on the 1st of February. No, she went back. She was released on the 31st, which was that Friday. I think it was a Friday. I know it was the 31st. But anyway, she went back that Monday. I took her that Monday. It was either Monday or Sunday. Excuse me. That I took her back to the ER. And that's my other thing. I shouldn't have took her to the ER that I took her to. I should have took her to the hospital where she was born at. I do not like MCV. Yes, I'm going to say MCV because that's where the fuck she went. And I do not like that hospital at all. I don't like it because they're not good. I mean, they're good. All hospitals are good hospitals, but they, I feel, weren't. I don't feel like the pediatric team was a good team for her. It felt like to me like they had too many children, and I stayed up there. I think I stayed up there like three times out of the time of her being in the hospital, the first and second time. Reason being is because I had other children at home. I had other babies at home that I had to be with. Plus, I was breastfeeding, so I had to be there. I had to pump for the babies, so I couldn't just be at the hospital 24/7 and not be at home. So I kind of blame myself for that too. But you had to do what I had to do. What I had to do. Anywho, MCV is where she went. I would never take them or any of my children, or either recommend them motherfuckers to anybody, because I don't like MCV. So anyway, she was at MCV. She stayed there. She was admitted that Monday. I don't know if the Monday was the 3rd, 2nd, 4th, whatever. But she was admitted that day. And she started to get better, actually. Like, the night that I spent the night, which was the 8th? No. Because I had a hair appointment on the 11th. No, wait a minute. I had a hair appointment on the 10th or the 11th, or no, I had a hair appointment on the 10th, I think it was. Yeah, I had a hair appointment on the 10th. And I was up there the 8th, and I was supposed to go back up there the next day. I can't remember, but anyway, I had a hair appointment, and I was going to stay up there with her because the hair appointment was on the other side of town, which is where she was at, because we live far away from the hospital where she was. But I was going to stay downtown so I can get to my hair appointment. Anywho, the last day I stayed with her was probably like the 6th, I think. The 8th, 7th, the 7th or the 8th. I forgot. But anyway, this is February. And I stayed up there with her. And she was doing fine when I left. Like, they had her oxygen on, I think it was on like an 8. A 7 or 8. And according to them, it could go up a whole lot more, it could go down a whole lot more. But 8 was a good number for her, and it worked. And she wasn't breathing hard. She wasn't in distress. She had no issues at all. She was eating fine. And there was nothing wrong with her. I even gave her a bath that night before I left, because I knew that they didn't have the one-on-one to give her baths and stuff. So I gave her a bath that night before I left. I gave her a bath that night, the night before. No, anyway, I gave her a bath that night when I spent the night. And then the next day I left because I had to go back home for the other children. Anyway, so I gave her a bath the night before. And it was kind of odd, too, because she kind of looked at me. I hate talking about her. But anyway, it was kind of odd because she looked at me and smiled. Shut up, you son. She looked at me and smiled the night before, when I gave her the bath before we went to sleep. And then drop the damn sauce on the floor. Keisha, go see if they open. You got stuff all on your hand. Here, wipe your hand.
What you want me to tell him?
Just tell them you dropping the pack. You need to tape it up though. And you gotta get the receipt from them. What do you got though? Just let me wipe it.